Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This tale is called The Morrigan by Phaedra, Wheldon. Oak and ash and thorn. Oh, crap. That was the thought running through Tam's mind as he watched the group of thugs form a threatening circle around him. It was after midnight. He'd just left a drumming circle inside one of the dormitories at Harvard Yard, since he didn't live on campus, and it had started out as a nice spring day in Cambridge. Tam had decided to forego his Harley and walk the grounds. Big mistake. Some of the other folklore students, like himself, had flipped him in on some attacks on the campus, all suspected to have been from the same group of guys in matching black hoodies and carrying pipes, and not the kind to make music with either. Obviously the vicious kind. The victims had survived, but all had ended up in the hospital. "You should be really careful, Tam," Janet Boswick said, as he packed their drums before he left. "Why me? Do I look like a victim?" Harold Jameson, a psych student but Irish folklore enthusiast, had chimed in. "You look like the other victims? 5 in all, and they all had your general look." "My general look?" "They're attacking short, dark-haired guys with funny names. Same build, same hair, face shape." Janet nodded in agreement. "I have a look?" The serious expressions on Harold and Janet's faces came back to him as he stared down what he suspected was the same hooded gang. The single light from the building behind him wasn't strong enough to break through the shadows created by their hoods. They picked the perfect place to surround him. Less than a mile from his house. Didn't accidents always happen less than a mile from your house? Tam wasn't totally defenceless. He had a backpack full of library tomes, all of them weighing a hefty amount. He also had his Baudrin's hard case, something he was now happy he'd paid more money for instead of the soft case. At the time, he'd felt anxious and anxiety for spending so much, but given the Baudrin had belonged to his mom, he'd do anything at all costs to protect it. With the backpack and case on his shoulders, and dressed in thigh-length peacoat that would constrict his movements, Tam held up his hands. "Hey, look guys, I've got nothing of value." "You think it's him this time?" the tallest one to Tam's right said. The guy's voice surprised Tam. It was gravelly and deep, not usually the tone of a college kid's voice, unless these weren't college kids. "So what if it ain't? We're going to keep looking till we find him, and then take it from him." This voice came from Tam's left, from a medium-height hoodie. The voice had the same gravel timbre. What is up with these guys? They smoke too many cigarettes. "I'm betting it's in that case. That's where he keeps it." "Oh, hell no." Tam turned his body pretty fast, so that the case was the furthest away. "There's nothing in the case of value." He surprised himself when his voice didn't shake, though the same bravado that kept his timbre even wasn't talking to his knocking knees. Adrenaline pumped furiously into his system. Everything he'd learned in defence classes told him this would end up in a fight. He had to be ready, of course. He'd paid more attention to his Irish step dancing classes lately, mostly because of a particular young woman. He doubted he'd be able to dance his way out of this. "So why are you protecting it, huh?" Still another voice, gravelled and with a slight accent that sounded vaguely Irish, but it had been polluted with something else. Tam knew what a purer accent sounded like because of his own family and their origins from Ireland. He couldn't tell which of the Dark Hoods spoke. "Let's do it quick," the first one said, and to Tam's horror, pulled a metal pipe out of his jacket. They all pull metal pipes from the jackets. Janet and Harold had said the victims were beaten with hard, blunt objects. One of the victims remained on life support. "Look, guys, I really don't have anything of value. You don't have to beat the crap out of me." "Oh, yes, we do," the smaller one said. "We have orders to kill after we relieve you of your prize." "Kill?" He narrowed his eyes. "You left the other victims alive." "Because they weren't what we was looking for. They didn't have the prize." Tom shifted his feet into position. For one of two options. This is fight or flee. What they did next would determine which he chose. "No, but we're pretty sure you do." The smaller one slapped his pipe into his other hand. "So we can do this easy. You can give us the case, and we can kill you fast, or we take the case and kill you slow." What surprise! He figured it was a lot to ask, but now curiosity had its grip on him. That was something all the Kirkpatricks in his family had, an abundance of curiosity. The smaller one, started to say, that is, before the one next to him knocked him in the face with his pipe. The smaller one flipped in the air, rolled right into an empty road. Tam took that moment to make his move. It was the diversion he'd hoped for. One thing that he could absolutely do well, besides playing his Wheldon, was run, and run fast. He wasn't a tall man, standing 5'7", without shoes, but he was lean and he kept in shape. It was something his stepdad had instilled in him when he was just a young boy, after his mother ran out on them. "Keep healthy, keep fit. One day your body will be your great asset." Now it was time to validate that advice. He heard their yells and following pounding of their feet on the concrete as they came after him. Tam pumped his arms and legs hard as he retraced his steps towards campus, the backpack and case heating against his sides and back. If he could get them to follow him back to the Harvard yard, then the campus police would see them. Maybe, even then, they could be arrested. He heard metal slide against concrete. Seconds, one of their pipes tangled in his feet. Pain lanced up his right leg as the pipe cracked his ankle. He went down with some speed behind him and forced himself into a roll to make the impact less painful. Tam wasn't sure if that worked or not, because the agony in his ankle overrode every other ratio and rational thought he had. He also felt the burn on his exposed skin, especially his left cheek, where he scraped against the concrete. The group descended upon him before he could get back up on his feet. They shoved him over on his side, holding his arms and legs as they wrenched his backpack and case from his shoulders. One of them struck him repeatedly in the stomach with the pipe. The pain caught his breath. Oh, he couldn't. It wasn't even enough air to cry for help. He couldn't. Through the pain that induced a fog, he heard their voices, as well as the sound of ripping vinyl and the cracking of the case around his Wheldon. "It's just a drum." "Don't be breaking it, Tolan." That was the voice of the tallest one. "That might be it. They can shape-shift." "Oh," said an, "is it him? Check him." Tarn fought back as they attempted to strip off his coat, T-shirt. He wrenched his left arm, his playing arm, free and delivered a hard right cross into the hood of the closest one. He let Tam go and fell back as Tam clenched his jaw at the bone-shattering pain in his fist. What the hell? Was that guy wearing some kind of iron mask? Even with one down, there were still 4 more. He managed to kick one of them, holding his legs just for a pipe struck the side of his head. The sound rang in his ears and slowed his reflexes. The pain didn't feel right. Tam had been hit in the head plenty of times in his whole life, scrapping with friends at the dojo, and even with his swordmaster, but never had the impact caused such a warp in his sense of reality. He had no longer control of his body, and as they finished removing his coat and shirt, though he did react to the cold temperature, it might be March, but it was still cold at night in Massachusetts. Look at his arm. It's the mark. You see it? This is him. Mark? My arm? Does he mean me tattoo? He had a Celtic knot tattoo around his upper left arm. That's all. That's all it was. How was that a bloody mark? And more importantly, a mark for what? Certainly not a gang, unless they were secret Irish gangs, so secret in fact that they hid their tats. Tam tried to speak, but his words slurred, and his vision just wasn't working right. For starters, when he looked up at the one holding his Morrigan, the tallest one, he thought he saw... No, it wasn't possible. The guy's hood was back on his head. I've got brain damage. That's it. They knocked my brain. That's what they did. Brain damage. They knocked my brain against my skull. 'Cause that guy looks like a troll. A big, horn-wearing, tusk-sprouting troll. Boys, we found our prize. Put the talk on him. Bring the van around, will ya? Talkie. His question was answered when someone put something cold and burning around his neck, like a collar. His body went limp, and his thoughts spiraled into a dark, confusing place. He could see and feel, but he wasn't in control. He heard squealing brakes, felt himself being lifted over someone's shoulder like a sack of potatoes, and then dumped onto a cold metallic floor. The tall one with the troll head spoke. Clean up the street. Don't leave any trace. And send a crow to the Morrigan. We have the unseelie prince. And that's the end of the first chapter of the tale called Morrigan. Thank you for listening, and many blessings.